Okay, so welcome to our weekly training call.
Yes.
And today we're going to be diving all about menopausal belly fat and how to get rid of it for good, the 3-step process. And my name is Michelle, and this is
Reese.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so a little bit about us. I'm a clinical practitioner. I've been in this game for about 23 years because I had my own health struggles, trying to lose weight, did it all the wrong way, and developed a condition called osteoporosis when I was young. And that freaked me out. So not only was I like super thin because I wasn't eating, but also I had like the bones of an 80-year-old grandma. So anyways, that started my journey. I figured it all out without medication. And there was this one burning question that I had that I wanted to have answered. And that was, how can we just like eat to be fit and healthy? Why does it have to be so complicated to like figure all this out? Well, I did figure it out. And so I was able to reverse my condition, build up a healthy body and not starve, not deprive, and eat. Basically, my body tells me what it needs and I get to stay fit and healthy when I'm like 56. So that's my story. And you want to share?
Yeah, I've been helping tens of thousands of people over the last 40 years with natural health for their overall health and fitness as well.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with the training now, and I'm just going to grab my screen. Here we go. Now that you know a little bit about us, we're going to dive right into solving this one problem, getting rid of this belly fat for good. Well, believe it or not, you actually can. A lot of people think you can't, but we figured out how to do that. So we are actually going to be sharing with you the blueprint that we provided for you. But before then, we're going to be talking about, you likely are watching this because you are struggling with this belly fat. And it's just like, no matter what you do, it's like still there. Like, why isn't it going away? And that's likely why you're on this call, and you're not alone. It's very, very common, but I have to let you know that you're in good hands because we did solve this problem. And whether you're just approaching menopause, in menopause, have been in menopause, the secret is to balance these hormones, okay? And to get rid of this belly fat for good.
So what are the challenges?
Exactly. Well, common challenges when you're in menopause, which is what we see a lot of, is I'd have to say the brain fog. The brain fog is because we speak to a lot of women that are reaching menopause and menopause, and they just want to get their brain working better. And I think another reason for that is because they see their parents. And their parents are like, there's this condition, dementia, Alzheimer's, it's pretty prevalent up there. And what's happening is they don't want to be like that, like your parents. And so that's kind of the one piece. And so that's driving them to learn how not to have that. Also, this anxiety, like all of a sudden anxiety just like shows up. Where's this coming from? Or feeling super low and depressed, like it's just like out of nowhere. Where's this coming from? And weight gain. Again, this is what this is about, is this weight gain piece. And hot flashes, bone loss, dry skin and nails, all these things that we're not super interested in achieving. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about these challenges and why we're having them. Well, the first reason why these challenges are here is because of our hormones are declining. When you're in menopause, or even reaching menopause, estrogen and progesterone start to take a dive down. And this is the biggest issue right now, because when it takes the dive down, the fat that you were accumulating before was in its nice places, like that women really enjoyed, the hips and the thighs and maybe the breasts. Now it's like leaving those areas and it's going right into the central area here, which is not what they're looking for. No, not at all. So that's the biggest reason. The second one is as you start to age and get into this menopause piece, we actually become insulin resistant naturally. That's what happens. We move away from insulin sensitivity, which is handling the carbs that you used to have, where you can't handle them anymore because the body just, as you age, this is what happens. And so that's the other thing. And then inflammation. Inflammation goes up as you age. Unfortunately, the more years that we live, the higher the inflammation goes. And a lot of that actually has to do with a few things we're going to be talking about today, which is food sensitivities, poor sleep quality, and toxicity.
Yeah.
And then the last one is stress. This is the other piece, is we're seeing a lot of women, not handling the stress that they used to handle. And a large part of that has to do with this cholesterol piece, which you're going to learn about. And all this leads to this belly fat.
And there's good stress and bad stress, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you can win the lottery and have 1,000 new friends. It's stressful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's when the stress goes on for too long. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. And so basically we want to know about what are these hormones actually doing? And so estrogen, just so you know, estrogen, as it declines, estrogen in and of itself is a hormone that tells the body where to store fat. So as I mentioned earlier, when you were fertile, the fat storage was in the hips and the thighs and the breasts, like areas that you kind of wanted. But then after, as estrogen goes down, it doesn't go there anymore. It actually goes to the central cavity. Okay, so that's one piece. The other piece is so we've got the estrogen piece, then we have the progesterone piece, which is it tells the body to store fat. And so progesterone kind of leans a little bit on this other hormone called insulin. And so the higher the insulin and the more times that insulin gets released and elevated, the more chance you are storing fat and for too long. Okay, and so that accumulates. So that's that piece. And then the other piece is, so we know where we're storing it. We know we are storing it, but how much fat we're storing is based on the calories that you eat. So if you're overeating or eating more than the body requires, now you've got like a 1, 2, 3, like punch that isn't something that we're looking for. And all of this leads to chronic inflammation and heightened stress.
More stress, yeah.
Mm-hmm, exactly. So to understand this a little further, which is what this call is about, we must understand estrogen and fat cells. So here's the piece. I love this one slide, is basically when we are fertile, okay, and we are approaching menopause, we have higher estrogen levels, and that is actually a good thing. It's very protective when you're fertile, okay? One of the reasons why it is because as you gain fat, because we do at times, we gain fat, we actually are able to make more fat cells, okay? So that is actually a good thing. You may be thinking, oh, I'm making more fat cells. That's not very good. It's actually good because the fat cells in and of itself are metabolically flexible. They're actually healthy cells because they're small fat cells. They're not really big ones. They're small fat cells. So they're not releasing these inflammatory cytokines that you would see in the larger fat cells. So that's actually a good thing. And this is the kind of fat that you can actually jiggle. Okay. So even though you don't want to have this fat, it's actually healthier fat. So what happens is as you start to get into menopause, estrogen goes down, and now we're not making more fat cells anymore. That's the big kicker here, is we've stopped the ability to make more of these small fat cells. So the fat cells that we actually have get larger. That's the problem. Mm-hmm. And when they get larger, it's called hypertrophy. When they get larger, they inflame. And so now they're larger, they're inflaming. And then what happens is they start to release these cytokines because the body is actually feeling like it has an infection. If we keep expanding these fat cells, that's actually not a good thing. And then what happens is, this is an interesting slide. As we're doing the wrong things, thinking that we're doing the right things, and the fat cells start to expand because they're not making anymore, the fat cells start to move away from the capillaries. Because they get so big, they start to move away from the capillaries. And as they do that, they're losing their oxygen source. Yeah. And so they're actually slowly dying, but they don't want to die. They want to stay alive. And so what they do to stay alive, to survive, is as they move away from the capillaries, is they start to release a multitude of inflammatory markers. And what it does is it actually tells the capillaries to bud off, like build another lines to me so that I can get the oxygen and release the carbon dioxide, and so that I can still survive. And so that's what happens there. And that's in and of itself is you have this cascade of so much inflammation flooding the body. And then what happens is if this goes on even too long and we don't course correct, then the fat cell gets so large that it starts to spill off tiny little fat. It starts to leak little fat molecules outside the fat cells, and then they enter the bloodstream, and then they deposit into places we don't want, which are not supposed to be, which is the liver and the muscles. So now the liver accumulates this extra fat, and then the muscles accumulate all this extra fat. This leads to fatty liver.
Yep, and heart disease.
And heart disease, exactly. So we want to turn this around, okay? And so just as a big takeaway here, we know estrogen tells the body where to store the fat. And when you're fertile, you're more insulin sensitive, and you actually can burn fat 10 times that of a man. So you are a really
Fat burning machine.
You are a fat burning machine when you're fertile, but it's when you reach the menopause that things start to turn around. Okay. And so again, the fat cells we don't make anymore, they become enlarged, they become inflamed, we become more insulin resistant, and then we have all this extra fat storage.
Yeah.
And again, if it goes on too long, we have fatty liver and fatty muscles.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing is you might be thinking, those darn fat cells. Yeah, like we're blaming the fat cells, but actually we don't want to blame the fat cells. It's not the fat cells that are the problem. They're only doing what they're told to do. What are they told to do? Insulin is telling them to grow. Insulin is a hormone that gets released when we do things to have it released, which we'll get into. And if it gets released for too long and for too long and too many times, then the fat cells say, like, listen, like, I'm so fat. I can't even get more fat. So it's just doing what it's supposed to do. So you can't change the fat cell, you change insulin. Insulin is what we need to do. We need to keep insulin down so it doesn't send the signal to the fat cell, so that the fat cell can start to shrink. And that is the number one, I'd have to say, the takeaway. If you learn anything from this talk, it is keep insulin down so that the fat cell can shrink, so that the body can stop inflaming, so that you can, get rid of the belly fat. Really, it's so much about that. Anything you want to add to anything?
No, I think that's good.
Okay.
The important point is that as estrogen goes down, you don't make more fat cells, and the fat cells expand, and then they spill over into the blood, causing all kinds of other problems. Is there something?
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so you may be thinking, okay, so I learned about estrogen, I learned about insulin. What am I going to do? And I know that I need to, it's my estrogen that is plummeting, estrogen protective. Maybe I need to add more estrogen in. And a lot of women are doing that.
Or when you go to the doctor, that's often the first thing that they'll recommend.
So and so this is where the hormone replacement therapy comes in.
HRT.
HRT, yeah. And it's like, okay, well, maybe I could just take estrogen. Maybe I can take a little bit of progesterone. Well, there's a lot of chemistry behind that. and it's also like, you're kind of, they're not exactly sure even how much to give you. And they give you, and then they watch you, and it's this whole game. So that could be a solution for some, but maybe we start with something that's easier.
And in some cases, they're not giving bioidentical hormones, they're giving synthetic hormones. So they're giving, like, Premarin, for example, would be from pregnant mare's urine, so horse urine. So, we'll talk about solutions a little bit later on.
So we're looking at what you can do, whether you're on HRT now to improve that, or maybe we can do something different first to see if that works. And then we can explore HRT later. Because there's a lot of dietary and lifestyle factors that you can actually incorporate to bring estrogen up naturally and bring insulin down naturally, so that you can start to get rid of the belly fat and feel like amazing again. So let's first of all look at what actually pushes, like, what are the biggest drivers to this belly fat piece? Well, we went into chronic inflammation. We talked about insulin resistance, the hidden toxins, and the stress response. So this is just one slide that you can look at to remind you of what they are.
Because we're looking at treating the cause, right? So when we take a look at, well, what's the cause of it? The cause may not be, I have a drug deficiency. It might be something like insulin resistance or chronic inflammation or too much stress or those toxins. So let's take a look at getting this better first before we add drugs to the soup mix.
Exactly. And so, again, this, what we see quite often are these frustrations of, Like I've done everything. How do I know this is gonna work, Michelle and Maurice? Like, listen, like I've done everything short of taking a pill, right? I can see that being a frustration.
They've gone
all
on,
this time.
a lot of people, a lot of women have gone on heavy duty diets, reducing their caloric intake, which changes the metabolism. A lot of them have increased cardiovascular or cardio training so that they're running or doing cardio work 5, 6, 7 days a week. They've got increased cravings and they're like, well, I'm hungry all the time. Plus I'm not eating much. Plus I'm stressing my face off doing this extra cardio work. I have no energy. I'm affecting, which is affecting their motivation to do anything else. And it can actually get worse than that.
Yeah, so these cravings, and that's actually what leads to the self-sabotage fee. So it's like this vicious cycle of, you know what, I'm gonna knuckle I'm gonna knuckle fist my way today and go, you know what, I just want to get rid of this belly fat. So I'm just gonna start intermittent fasting. I'm going to fast my way to that. And so this is very common as well, is women will start this intermittent fasting piece. And then what happens is they start to do that, but then when they start to eat again, that's when things can fall off the rails, which is they're grabbing like their first meal. They're so hungry, it's like dessert almost. And then they overeat. And that's not a very good pattern to get into, which is like starving yourself and then overeating. We see that as well. And then this leads to this chronic cortisol piece,
Yeah.
which, and then everything is, then not only that, you just like wake up feeling like you're a failure. Why is this working? Like, why aren't I good enough to make this happen? Like, why do I keep failing? And so you feel like shame. The shame piece comes up, and we really want to like turn that around for you with some solid solutions. Oh, didn't finish this piece. And yeah, so the mood goes down, the energy, and not only that, like the hormones are off. And so that's exasperating the whole picture. Okay. So it's like, oh my gosh, how do we get out of here? Well, before we get into some solutions, there is one other piece that we want to bring forth. This is big.
Yeah.
This
so,
is bigger than the belly fat.
Yeah. So it's not just the belly fat. It's not just the stress. It's not just the anxiety. It's not just the low energy. Really, now we've got systemic throughout the whole body inflammation. Systemic inflammation leads to a number of different things, but the two most important things are cardiovascular disease and osteoporosis, or bone loss, right? So cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death for women. Osteoporosis, as menopause speeds up, can contribute to 20% more bone loss because of the hormonal changes and also the stress hormones that are involved. So is it really an obvious relationship?
Yeah, so what's happening is in menopause, all this goes up. And so we have to know that it's not just the belly fat. Okay, so that's really good. So here is I found this in the new
National Institute
of Health. Yeah. And it just clearly shows that, listen, like we are, estrogen's protective. Okay. And we're losing our estrogen. So we need to do everything we can to bring the estrogen up and stop this insulin resistance, because all this drives this cardiovascular disease and osteoporosis
and
is
cancer.
A real thing. Yeah. Cancer as well. Exactly. Okay. So yeah, so it's not just the belly fat is where I'm going with all this.
So the thing here in this study, it talks a little bit of here. After menopause, postmenopause, monthly menstrual period stop, which we know, the body still makes small amounts of estrogen by changing hormones that you have called androgens, so the male hormones, into estrogen. So taking testosterone and so forth and changing it into estrogen. And when it does that, those are called, it's called aromatase, right? Transferring those testosterone into estrogen.
Yeah, anytime you see A's, that's an enzyme. So you know what, you're here to find solutions, and I know you want some fun and freedom, and that's what we're here for. Let's go. Okay, so
what do you want?
Yeah, exactly. You're likely somebody who wants a stable, healthy weight without this extreme dieting or exercise regimes. That's like crazy. We're done with that. You are also likely looking to ignite your energy and vitality. Because remember, like this is your second spring, we call it. Menopause is like the time that you can reach the best health that you can. You can bring that energy back. You can, because look at all the time you have here to have your adventures. You're not raising the kids like you did before. Now it's your time. Okay, without relying on the typical wake up, have your coffee, or any kind of sugar pill or any type of pill at all.
Yes.
It's just like you just have this vigor about you. And also restore your hormone balance, not just for weight loss, but for like overall health and wellness.
Yeah, quality of life.
Quality of life, exactly. So, so basically, we're going to stop all this overwhelm for good, and we're going to show you some simple solutions on how to do that. But first, we're going to share with you one of our clients, Karen. So Karen, just to give you some hope, this is one of our clients, Karen. She came to us and she wanted to get into good shape because she wanted to be there at her daughter's wedding.
Right.
In feeling proud of herself. Okay. And so she reached out to us because what she was doing wasn't working and she was spinning her wheels and she was super overwhelmed. But her biggest issue was, you remember Karen, her biggest issue was, but Michelle and Reese, like, how am I going to do this if I'm traveling all the time? Like, I live in Toronto, Canada, but like half the time I'm like on the plane, I'm going to Spain. I'm
She's a tour director.
Yeah, exactly. And so she's in hotels all the time. She's eating hotel food, like
Or
on a bus.
Or on boats with
hours.
buffets, like, yeah.
So, and she's like 80 pounds overweight. She's like, okay, I want to be ready for this wedding, my daughter's wedding, because that's that important. So she had a big why.
Yeah, she did.
She was awesome.
Yeah.
And so you would think that she had everything stacked against her. No, we figured it out. Here's the thing is, when you have a big enough why and you have a solution or 9-step plan, you're guaranteed it's going to work. And so just as an example for Karen, just in 30 days, this is without exercise. This is only walking and changing your eating patterns and a few other things that we did. She lost 22 pounds in 30 days. You can see the graph here. So everything is tracked. Okay. So this is where she was, 250 pounds. She released 22 pounds in just 1 month. So now she's just go to the gym, literally go to the gym and pick up 2 10-pound weights, 2 11-pound weights.
Carry it around all day.
She released that from her body. Okay. And that's like bad body like stuff. We don't want that stuff. Okay. And so yeah, so that's just to give you some hope. This is like a real thing. Okay. And so how did she do it? How did she lose 22 pounds in 30 days without even exercising and just doing, well, here's what she did. You're going to learn exactly what she did so you can do the same to release the amount of weight that you want. But again, the weight that we're releasing is the belly fat. We don't want to release the muscle. We don't want to release the bone. We want to release the belly fat. So here is her here. Before, you can see her weight on her face and her neckline and her chest here. And now she's like, hello, everyone. Enjoying like some of her favorite beverages at times. It doesn't mean you need to deprive yourself of certain things that you like. Not at all. We can fit that in. And we teach you how to do that. So this is her after. So she's really excited.
So here's how she did it.
Yeah, and how all of our clients do it actually. And so we have this 3-step blueprint, and it's the Fit and Healthy Hormone Balance Blueprint is what we can offer you. And it's 3 pillars. Okay, so you can see there's 9 steps here, 1 step at a time from A to B. And the 3 pillars are this. This is where it really sits. Okay, it's going to sit, it's like sitting on a stool chair. The first leg, we call it on the stool, is your nutrition. You want to tackle that first out of anything. Get a customized nutrition plan for your body. Most fail because they're cookie cutter. They're going to Google, hey, how do I lose 20 pounds in 90 days? It doesn't know you. Because what's going to work for you is going to work for it's going to be different for someone else. And that's why I'm letting you know right now, the future is now in customization. Okay, we can't keep doing the same things we used to do. And I'll let you know the primary reasons why we can't. Because before 50 years ago, it was so much easier. And here's why it was easier. Number one, less toxins, way less toxins. Now we are living in a toxic soup. Okay, there are so many endocrine disruptors, hormone disrupting chemicals in our food, in our water. We're smelling it, we're putting it on our skin, all these things. They will alter estrogen, progesterone, and they will add inflammation, and they will start to clog up your cells. Okay? And then the body becomes, it's not working as well. The cells actually they struggle in their own ways. They're like, we're supposed to be beside each other, but I don't even know who you are.
I know.
You know, and it's like moldy. And so, and our clients, when they come to us, we look to see what they're eating. They say, yeah, I'm eating pretty good. They're misguided. No, it's not good. It's not. And it's not even their fault. It's the wrong information.
Well, they're following the marketing messages out there. Eat low fat. You know, we had a friend go to the hospital the other day, and he's in the hospital, and they fed him margarine, tea, sucralose. What else did he have? A dairy, 2% milk. Anyway, he couldn't eat it. He couldn't eat any of it.
Yeah, he did.
So he just didn't eat that day.
Yeah, it was pretty shocking.
Which was better for him.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So again, the first pillar out of everything to lose the belly fat is the nutrition. And when we look at nutrition, again, it needs to be customized to you. But even within that nutrition piece, we're going to even do a deeper dive into that in a minute. But the first piece I want you to think about is getting your nutrition plan right. Okay.
Yep.
So now we're on the stool. We've talked about the first leg, and now we're going to the second leg. Well, we've got to get moving. We need to get moving, but the right type of movement. How many women here are watching this going, yeah, I want to lose belly fat, so I know I got to run, or I need to like jog, or I need to like, usually cardio is the first thing.
Yeah.
It's like, I just want to burn this off. So to burn it off, I'm just going to do cardio. Well, it's pretty hard if you're 250 pounds, I have to tell you. So Karen did not do cardio. It would actually hurt her knees if she ever even started. Plus, it's not even good for you.
And it causes more stress. I mean, and just think about it. You're on the treadmill or something for an hour, and you go have a bite of something afterwards, and all the calories are back again. So cardio is not the solution.
And plus, who likes it? If you like it, do it. But most people don't. I mean, I don't. Yeah, you need to do the exercise that you love, but we're going to share with you the #1 exercise that will actually turn everything around for you. And what it will do is help you with building that metabolism back up, so you can even afford to have more of these carbs. That's the key. Okay, so we're going to share that with you. So that's the pillar #2. Pillar #3 is we got to really look at just like your overall lifestyle. And so this is like a lifestyle change. Okay. And when you're reaching menopause, listen, it's a different game.
Yeah.
It's not the same game. We have to know the game. It's different. What is it? We talked about it. Blood sugar imbalances, which is insulin resistant. What else? Inflammation. These two things go up. Why? Because the hormones are going down. Estrogen, progesterone goes down. What else goes up? Insulin. So there is a hormonal shift, and it's a real thing. It's a real thing. So we have to know that we can't keep doing the same thing. So our lifestyle needs to shift. And don't you want it to?
Yeah, well, you're literally a different person, right? You know, as those hormones change, you literally are a different person. So the strategies that worked prior to that don't work now.
Yeah, and also you have like new desires. Like when you're raising kids, that's what you're focusing on. You know, you want to focus on them, which is good. They're gone. You're likely empty nesters. And so it's time to know, oh, wow, who am I? Well, I need to focus on me. Oh, cool. This is all about you. Like revel in that piece. So the lifestyle needs to shift. And so if you're somebody who hasn't slept very well because it's been a habit, we need to turn that around. If you're somebody who is like stress eating, we need to turn that around. If you're somebody who is like rushing your food because you need to take your kids to a soccer practice, all those things, those habits need to be turned around. So that's where this lifestyle piece comes up. So now we're going to break down the 3 pillars into a framework. Okay. So here's the thing. Let's talk about a little deeper dive into this nutrition piece. I hope you're paying attention because this is like golden information. I wish I knew this 22 years ago when I was struggling, because I'm like, I don't know how else to lose the weight. I just eat less. That was a bad thing. Okay. So it took me all this time to figure it out. Now I'm going to like share with you this right now. So when you're thinking about your food, you're going to want to, #1 thing is to think about is, where is my protein source? That's the first thing I want you to think about in your brain is, where is my protein source? So we call it step 1. And so we're going to want to prioritize protein. Okay, so that's the first step. The second step is, okay, well, I'm not just gonna like eat animal protein all day. There got to be something accompanying to that, because first of all, that would get boring after a while. And second of all, I like carbs. Right?
Yeah.
Like, who doesn't like
Yeah,
carbs?
exactly.
That's sugar. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna add back the carbs, but we're gonna control the carbs. And we're gonna like manage the carbs. Have carbs, but we're gonna have the right type of carbs, and we're gonna keep them
The right time.
yeah, exactly. And then here's the other piece is don't fear fat. We want to add healthy fat. We don't want to over fat. This is like fat from foods, but we do want to know that healthy fat is absolutely critical. And what I learned about fat was we're eating protein to burn the body fat, right?
Mhm.
That's what we're doing. When you eat protein, you want to be able to not only just eat it, but assimilate it. So you can burn the body fat, because what you're doing is you're changing the hormonal profile. In order for you to assimilate the protein, fat is beneficial. When you eat fat with protein, you're able to assimilate more protein as in amino acids to be able to burn the body fat. And if you think about nature, when you see protein out there,
Fat's always with it.
it's always with it.
Yeah.
And nature always knows. It's when you start to get into this, I don't know, packaged food, the bars and
Yeah.
the
If
bags.
you
And
got meat, it's got fat. If you got nuts, it's got fat. If you have eggs, it has fat.
Mhm.
If you have dairy, it has fat.
So we always want to add that in.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing when it comes to nutrition is that. And I did underscore avoid snacking, and I'm just the messenger. Okay, so please don't shoot the messenger. I know that snacking is fun and it's like it's
There's healthy snacks as
enjoyable.
well.
So what we're gonna want to do is not have snacks. We want to avoid snacks. And the reason for that is this. It has to do, again, we want to balance the hormones, right? We talked about insulin. What does insulin do? It tells the body to store fat, to store nutrition, tells the body to store fat. So if we keep telling the body to store fat all day because you're eating a meal and then you're snacking a few hours later, now you're eating a meal and you're snacking and then you're doing that all day, insulin keeps going up. What is the body doing? Store, store, store. It's not saying burn. The opposite of insulin is glucagon, which says burn. They're the opposite. So if you're always snacking, you're always storing. And so you'd be wondering like, but I'm eating healthy food, Michelle. And, but I'm still gaining weight. Yeah, because insulin hasn't had a chance to come down. As soon as insulin comes down for a while, now it's like, woohoo,
It's body fat.
the belly fat starts to go. Okay, so we don't want to snack. Okay, so we're going to want to think about maybe 2-3 times a day eating. That's it, no snacking. That is, man, if I could put that on a billboard, that and the next one, which is, here's the other thing. We see this all the time, don't we?
Yeah.
Clients come to us and they're just eating mindlessly. They're not waiting till they're hungry. Why? Because they're told to eat to raise the metabolism.
Well, a lot of it's marketing as well. I mean, the plates in the old days used to be small dinner plates, and now they're massive dinner plates. And so people feel like they have to fill their plate. And not only that, they feel that they have to finish whatever they've put onto their plate.
It's true.
And so our thing is eat when you're hungry, take your time eating so that you chew it. So there's a little muscle down in the stomach area that actually tells you when it's full. But if you eat it so quickly that it can't get the message, all of a sudden it's overfull. And so stop when you're 80% full.
Yeah, this is one of the biggest unlocks that our clients get. One of them would be Karen, for example. Well, Karen did all these. Okay, that's how she was able to release the weight even without exercise.
Yep.
And she was and a lot of us did this, was we just eat because it's time to eat. We eat because I'm bored. Isn't that okay, Michelle? Because it raises my metabolism. No, it's not okay. Because if you really understand hormones, every time you eat, you're raising insulin from the pancreas and it's saying, hey, we need to store that because calories are coming in. Of course, you're going to store it. So if you're storing it all day, you're not going to, right? And the other piece is eating too much. And so we can eat, but if we eat too much, so that's where this eat till you're 80% full piece is so important. And so this is, I'd have to say, moving forward, one action step I would take today is paying attention am I actually hungry? And when you're eating, oh, I'm actually full. Okay, and chewing your food. I remember the other client, Isabel, that was an amazing unlock for her. She's like, I never even thought about that until I started working with you. And I would just didn't even come to mind. And that's the only thing she did, was she started to eat when she was hungry, stop when she was full, and she was able to release some weight. And then when we added a few more things for her to do, she started to release even more weight and got to her ideal weight. And so again, this has to do with some hormones. So what are the hormones? We can dive into this because we haven't, this is a master class. And so leptin is a hormone you may have heard before. And it's an important hormone to know when you're especially in menopause. And leptin is a hormone that actually gets released from your fat cells, and it enters the hypothalamus, and it tells the hypothalamus, tells your brain, tells the body, you know what, we're fine. We have enough food on hand. We don't need to go look for food. We can, we can get on with our day, and we're satiated. We're good. We're fine. So that's an important hormone to get right.
Turns off the hunger switch.
Yeah, and you're satiated. You feel good, okay, with leptin. And then what happens is okay, that's great. The body releases it. The brain says, yeah, we're good. Okay, perfect. So then as leptin goes down, then ghrelin goes up. That's the opposite. So ghrelin is the hunger hormone. I always remember ghrelin by grr, I'm hungry. So when you think of ghrelin, think of grr, I'm hungry. And that's important too, because then the body goes, oh, we need more nutrition on board. We need more fuel on board. So I need you to, tells the brain, I need to eat. And so then the body seeks out food. So when you get leptin and ghrelin right, you are off to the races. I'm telling you right now, that is such a big unlock. And I'll let you know right now, if you're somebody watching this and you're on the replay, you're watching it live, and you're 20 or more pounds overweight than your target weight, I can pretty much guarantee you that's not working. And it's called leptin resistance. And we actually have a quiz for that, that we can offer you to even test for if that to be the case, because that's the first line. That's the first thing you need to fix, is know when you're hungry, stop when you're just full. Otherwise, how are you going to get to where you want to be? You're not. You're going to be eating more than you need and packing on the weight, or not eating enough. That's the other piece, is if you're not eating enough, you're not getting the nutrition you need. Your cells need these nutrients to actually have good metabolism. Okay, so this is, I know I was long in the tooth in that, but I'm telling you right now, it's like a really big deal, getting leptin and ghrelin right. I mean, we can unpack that another time, but those are two very important things. And so the third piece of this nutrition is, so it's not just like what you eat. Yeah, you know what, I'm eating chicken. But it's, are you digesting the chicken? I'm eating, what would be another example?
Well, any kind of meat.
I'm eating fish, I'm eating this, but are you assimilating it? And here's the other piece: when you're over 40, when you're in menopause, you're likely over 40, okay? Your digestive capability goes down. Hydrochloric acid goes down, especially when you're over 40. It's half of what it was when you were 18. So that means that, yeah, you're eating the protein, okay? But you're not assimilating it. Hey, Michelle, like, I'm eating this diet that Google told me to eat. I'm eating the protein, but why aren't I getting results? Well, we need to test your hydrochloric acid. We need to test your digestion. We have a quiz for that too.
Yeah.
So these are three very important pillars, parts of the pillar for nutrition. Okay. And if you just start to do this, you will see results the first day. And we know that because we see it all the time. We've got handouts for all of our clients too, to make it easy. So if anyone here wants to hop on a call with us, we offer that as well.
Yeah, free
if you're
call.
spinning your wheels. And okay, so you may be thinking, okay, you've been talking about this estrogen piece all along, Michelle, and we know that as estrogen is very protective, as we lose estrogen, we start to gain more body fat. We increase our cardiovascular risk, our osteoporosis risk. Is there any way we can bring up estrogen without hormone replacement therapy?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like we can stack this in your favor. And so, because remember, we're on this nutrition piece right now. There are 3 foods right now that can naturally start to raise your estrogen. Remember, as I say this though, give your body time to adjust. Why do I say that? Because you're eating these estrogen mimickers, right? Healthy ones, but it takes time for your cells to create the receptor sites on the cell to be able to accept the estrogen for it to actually work in the cell. And it's about 30-60 days. That's how much time it takes for that to happen. So this is not a quick fix with this estrogen piece. You can start to sprinkle these foods into your daily diet as an added, like stacking to your favor, because you want to add all these layers to stack in your favor. But just give it some time, okay?
But just to be clear, you can lose belly fat far, far faster than that. It's just the estrogen piece that you're talking about.
The first 3 things, thank you, Reese. First day, you're going to tell the body to burn fat.
Yeah.
The first day. Here's the thing. I'm glad you said that. Everything you do is a signal to the body. So when it comes to nutrition, you're either going to store fat or burn fat. It's one or the other. When you eat in this way, you're actually sending the signal to the body. Oh, well, we don't need to hang on to this fat anymore. We're all good to go. Let's get rid of that. That's what this is about. How do I know? Because this is how I live every single day. I'm in menopause. I'm in the best shape and health, and I want to keep going too. So I'm still working on it. But if I can do it, you can do it. If Karen can do it, my goodness, she travels and everything. So yeah, this is stacking in your favor. So when it comes to foods to improve estrogen, we want to think about obviously soy. I know you've heard of that before. It's a phytoestrogen, we know that. But the key to the soy is this. Do you want to unpack that?
We don't want to just eat typical soy products. We want to make sure that they're fermented. So not tofu. Most soy, about 80% in the world is genetically modified. So we definitely don't want to be eating that. So it needs to be organic, first of all. But if we're going to have it, it needs to be fermented so that we can use it properly. And so that would be things like natto.
Yeah. And the reason for the fermentation is because our ancestors did that. And we fandangled everything to make it processed and easy and convenient. Well, that's not convenient for your health. Okay. So just so you know, ancestrally, they fermented it. It's called properly soaking and sprouting. And what it does is it gets rid of what you can't digest.
Yeah.
So you can digest it and you can get the benefits. It's getting rid of the anti-nutrients called phytic acid, enzyme inhibitors, trypsin inhibitors. They are going bye-bye when you ferment them. And now it's bioavailable. It's like, wow, okay, cool. And it's an added food. Like, we want you to try new foods. Why not try this? So the legumes and the soy need to be soaked or sprouted or fermented. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one, which is actually, I'm almost addicted to them. You know me with my flax seeds. Flax seeds, yeah, they're phytoestrogenic, and actually they're really protective for males' prostate too on the side. And I know that because I did training on prostate cancer, and they were recommending flax seeds for that. Okay, flax seeds. Okay, the thing about flax seeds are, do you want to dive a little bit into that?
Go ahead.
Okay, thing with flax seeds is we want to make sure they're not rancid. So if you're at a grocery store and that you see the bins with flax seeds and they're like in a plastic container, like all aired out, that is a perishable oil. Okay, it's a fat. So now you're eating things you think are healthy, which aren't. They're actually oxidizing, and it causes, if you eat fats that are oxidized, it enters into the body and actually causes what we call free radical damage. Okay, so the tissues start to get nicked. They get little cuts in them, and then you need to upregulate your own mechanism to kind of like patch it up, release your own antioxidants, like all this. Why would you do that? No, why don't we just why don't we pick flax seeds that are found that are fresh in the fridge, ideally, or in a package that has been properly aired out so that it's like fresh, and whole flax seeds. I don't like buying powdered flax seeds.
That impact.
Yeah. And then organic flax seeds, and then grind them yourself. And like when you need to use them, just grind a small amount, put it in the fridge, and then use it as you go. So that would be the flaxseed piece. And then, oh my goodness, we got women here. I mean, who doesn't like dark chocolate? Hello. So dark chocolate actually is very, very beneficial. And to add to that, do you want to add to the dark chocolate piece?
Well, it's got actives in it, so polyphenols, some active ingredients that are healthy as well.
So what you're gonna want to look for is, I like cacao. If you look for cacao nibs or cacao powder, they have the highest in polyphenols. They actually high in magnesium as well, which we're gonna get to some supplements.
Theobromine,
Theobromine, yeah,
all kinds of goodies.
yeah. So we're gonna want to get, and ideally organic, like we want to choose organic as best as we can. Okay, so let's get now into, we've done a lot of sharing so far, right? We talked about nutrition. We're gonna get into exercise in a minute, but right now we're gonna dive into the supplement piece. And so this is when we talk about supplements, supplementing a good diet. It's not like replacing a good diet. That's the other piece here is this is like an unfair advantage, I call it, when we supplement this way. But let's get the nutrition piece first, okay? Look, we talked about the pillar number 1, nutrition, the 3 things to think about.
Yeah.
We talked about layering in the foods that are naturally estrogenic so we can raise the estrogen for it to be protective and allow us to fat burn and stay youthful as long as we can. Now let's get into the supplements. You know what? You're likely not going to see this in other places, only because so many other I guess experts are just going straight to the black cohosh and the Vitex and the DHEA. I'm fine with that, but what about the liver? Like,
You gotta take care of the liver first.
listen, like the liver conjugates your hormones. The liver is so key when it comes to overall health, especially in menopause, because the liver, we want to keep that super healthy. Over time, it's getting congested. Remember, with all those toxic
Toxins.
chemicals that we're putting on our skin. Hey, remember those days? Remember the hairspray days? My hair did not move, and the curling iron and the hairspray. And we were riddled with toxins, and we were younger then. We're still hanging on to them. And our poor little liver, it's like, what about me? And so over time it gets congested. We can test for liver. In fact, I look at blood work, and I'm happy to, if anyone here is interested in me looking at their blood work, I'm very happy to do that, because there are liver markers on there that will tell us how your liver is actually doing.
Yeah.
And it's ALT, AST, and GGT, and then bilirubin to some degree. But when I can see these markers, and we can see, is the liver regenerating, or is it breaking down faster than regenerating? But anyways, the liver is, why is it so important? Well, first of all, it's gonna hang on to stored sugar. So that way, when you're not eating, because we're recommending you taking breaks from eating, the liver goes, oh wow, there's no food on. Okay, but the body needs a bit of glucose. No problem. The liver just releases it as glycogen. Glycogen releases it, goes into the bloodstream as glucose, and the body goes, oh yeah, no, we're fine. Cortisol stays normalized because there's glucose in the bloodstream. If glucose goes too low, cortisol goes, oh, there's a stress, we got to bring it up and bring the blood sugar up, but not if you have good liver. Okay, so the liver is key. It also gets rid of bad estrogens. There's 3 different estrogens, you probably know that, at E1, E2, E3, and there's one of them that is cancer causing. And so we have some of these, but we don't want it to overtake the healthy ones. So the liver will conjugate from the bad estrogen to the good estrogen. That's what it does. But it does so many things. And so we've got that piece. So we want to support the liver again, because we've kind of had some bad behavior in the past. And we want to really get that supporting. And then we can afford to have some of the things that we like to have. Like some of the beverages that perhaps may not be liver friendly, and maybe some of the foods that may not be. So what, we have to live a life. We're not just going to be like in a caged animal. No, we need to live and be social. And that's why liver support is really important. So I'd have to say the number 1 supplement for any woman in menopause who wants to burn belly fat and look and feel 10 years younger would be liver support.
I agree.
Yep. And so the next one is, again, you're not going to see this out there, but I have to say it's number 2.
Protein powder. There's a lot to talk about with protein. There's a lot of confusion in the marketplace. There's a lot of marketing messages in the marketplace. One of them is to bathe your body with nitrogen throughout the day. So we're going to put 3 different types of protein. One's a slow burner, one's a medium burner, one's a fast burner into there. The real reason behind it is they're putting cheap proteins into a isolate blend to lower the cost and value of the product so they can make more profit. The real truth behind it is that there's casein, which is kind of like skim milk powder, very, very inexpensive, lots of milk sugar. There's concentrate, which is like 40 to 60% protein. The other 40 to 60% is going to be milk sugar. And then there's isolate, which goes from 70% protein up to 94. That means that the very highest quality proteins will only have 6% of lactose or milk sugar in them, and the rest of it is protein. So you get what you pay for. It's a little bit more money, but why would you be buying sugar when you can get sugar so many other places? You're buying protein powder for the value of protein powder.
And the reason why it's number 2 is because we need to prioritize protein. And we are busy women sometimes. Like some of you still have careers. You're in menopause. You have like you're running businesses. You're running teams. You're an entrepreneur. You're however many. Maybe you travel a lot, and you can't be at home cooking all the time. That's totally fine. Guess what? That's what it's for. It's a tool. It's a tool in our toolkit. Okay, it's for our benefit. And so what happens is if we don't have a chance to eat the chicken or the whatever, the burgers or whatever you're going to eat. Because you're running out of time, whatever, or you're traveling, grab the protein powder and you can make, I have a 3-ingredient smoothie that I'm happy to share with everyone too. We have something for everything. Like, isn't that true?
Yeah.
So anyways, protein powder. So we want to make sure that we have that on hand. And you know what? That way you can actually bring your protein level for the day where it needs to be. Because so many times clients come to us, they show us what they're eating. And it's not enough protein. It's never enough protein. In fact, most people are, yeah.
And the other thing with protein is make sure that you take a look at what else is in it other than just protein. So you get an isolate protein, but now they have sweeteners in it. So they have sucralose or ACE or other sweeteners. You're looking for something with monk fruit or stevia in it, or an unflavored protein powder, isolate powder.
And it's a really fun way to get your reach your protein targets, because when you do, the belly fat just melts away. It does. But if you don't, it stays there. So I'm letting you know right now, the protein is key. And this is a great way to do it. Okay, so the third one, again, you're not going to see this out there. These are just like, hey, clinically, this is what I see works. And so that's why I'm sharing it with you, because I've seen it work. And I do this all myself as well. So digestive enzymes. Here's the thing. I know when we're over 40, our digestive system is more compromised. Okay, I already know that. And I also know that the stomach acid is half of what it was when it was 18. Well, that's a problem if we're going to want to eat the protein, assimilate it, and build the metabolism and burn the belly fat. Digestive enzymes with hydrochloric acid is absolutely important. So what you're doing is you're supplementing what the body can't do itself, so that you can eat the protein and get the amino acids from it. Here's the other piece. We need bile. That's the other piece that's missing with these digestive enzymes, especially if you're a woman and you're watching this and you don't have a gallbladder. Really pay attention to this. And if you have friends or family members without a gallbladder, really pay attention to this. What is that? The gallbladder stores the bile. Okay, liver makes bile. That's the other thing the liver does. And maybe we should talk about what is bile. Bile is actually an emulsifier. Bile, when your body makes bile, and what happens is when you eat fats, dietary fats, the liver makes the bile. It releases bile to break down the fat so that you can assimilate it and use the fats as what the body needs the fats for, which are a lot of things. But you need to be able to break it down first. And so what happens is if you have a clogged liver, which isn't making good bile, or if you don't have a gallbladder storing the bile, then you're not really releasing the bile to break down the fats. What does that do? Here's what it does. Ready? It actually clogs up the gastrointestinal tract. Have you heard of leaky gut? Have you heard of allergy, asthma, arthritis? Have you heard of autoimmune disease? All these diseases is because of the gut. And a lot of it I'm seeing right now is the liver and the bile. So if you have a clogged liver, we can clear that, but also let's get the bile in now so that just before you eat, so then the bile is there to break down the fat so that you can start to heal the gut. And not only that, here's the other piece that I found out about bile. Bile helps you assimilate the protein that you're eating. It actually aids in assimilation of protein. Why is that important? Because that's what's going to get rid of the belly fat. This is absolutely key. And again, we are offering a call with us to go through your supplement plan, to like look at what you're doing, look to see what you need to do. It's a free call. And then we have a gift basket to give away for 3 people watching this. If you've watched this far, you're like still engaged with this type of information. And also if you can mute yourself there. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. Meant to mention that. But anyways, we're giving away a gift basket. If anyone here wants us to go through the supplement plan, order some supplements, we're giving you some supplements for free. Okay. Also. So carnitine, like I call carnitine my best friend. And carnitine is a fat burner, but it's not the fat burner that you see on the shelf that actually makes you stressed. No. Believe this or not, acetyl-L-carnitine is an amino acid that when you take away from food, it actually grabs onto your own body fat, releases the body fat into what we call the mitochondria, which make more energy from your body fat. It breaks body fat and makes more energy. How do I know that? I learned it from the bodybuilding community. They know what they're doing.
Yep.
They're getting ripped before a competition. I was listening to all their secrets. So a lot of them we don't do, but some of them we do because we do this the healthy way. Carnitine is perfectly healthy. Not only that, it actually helps with brain cognition. It has a dual effect, fat burning and accelerates healthy brain function as well. It gets rid of brain fog, which is like the #1 thing. And also helps stave good brains that when you're in your 70s or 80s, we're not starting to fall prey of this dementia, this Alzheimer's, this Parkinson's, because we're keeping our brain healthy. So carnitine is like, I love carnitine. Then we get into the phytoestrogens. DIM is really good as well. You want to talk about DIM?
Well, let's talk about Chase Tree Berry first of all. So Vitex is important because we're taking a look at liver function, and then we're taking a look at the balance of estrogens, estrogens that are from outside of the body, from toxic environmental stuff like hairspray and so forth that we were talking about. But we also want to balance that out with progesterone. So we make sure that the balance of estrogen, good quality estrogen, and progesterone is properly balanced in the body. And then diindolylmethane or DIM, or I3C indole 3-carbinols, which come from brassica foods like cauliflower and Brussels sprouts and cabbage and so forth. But this is in a supplement form, much more concentrated. It'd be like a bushel of Brussels sprouts in a pill. Is much more effective at helping to conjugate some of these nasty cancer-causing estrogens to help them pass through the body. And then DHEA is one of the starting hormones for all of the hormones. And I got my hand up here because I'm mimicking a cascade of hormones. So we start off with cholesterol, and then we go into all the different hormones. And DHEA was one of the ones that starts to go down naturally as we age. And do you want to speak to magnesium?
Oh my gosh, we all take magnesium. We love magnesium.
Yeah.
We can't get it in our foods as we used to have. We think that we can get everything from our foods. That's just not the case anymore.
No.
Because the topsoil and what they're doing to our food. So anyways, magnesium is really, really important to balance stress. It also helps with the mitochondria to make more energy during the day. The mitochondria are little, you probably have heard of them. They're energy packs in your cells. They actually make your ATP. They actually make your energy. And we want to support our mitochondria to make us more energy. Magnesium is one of the critical pieces for it to do its job. And then also help you sleep at night. How many women here have poor sleep quality because they're in perimenopause, menopause? That happens because of the hormones. And so we can support a good sleep with magnesium. Okay. Also, what I noticed was when I take magnesium with calcium, I don't get those cramps.
Right.
But
like
the
that.
calcium with the magnesium, not just magnesium.
Yeah.
But I used to get these muscle cramps, but not anymore. So probiotics, this is like a gold star for me. We're always on probiotics. This one in particular, what are probiotics? Probiotics mean for health, for life. And so these ones in particular, the lactobacillus bacteria, the lactobacillus reuteri, and the lactobacillus rhamnosus, these are strains that are specific for belly fat loss. And so we actually have it, we use the formula that has all 3 in them to help to release the belly fat. So like, again, we're stacking all these things in our favor. And one thing about probiotics, don't just take any probiotics. Most don't work. They need to be human strain. They need to be refrigerated. They need to be proven in a lab to actually have an effect in humans, not animals. And they need to be shown efficaciously that they actually have an effect. Okay, and the ones that we have, we're Dr. Nigel Plummer. I've spent lots of time with him. He is a scientist in New South Wales, and he has been in the lab doing the testing to making sure that what leaves the probiotics that we recommend actually have an effect, and they certainly do. D3K2, if you need to supplement, I always like to test first what your levels are. We don't want to supplement without testing, but if they're below 60, we're going to want to add D3, but with K2, never D3 on its own. I see this all the time. Why? Because D3 is supporting calcium regulation, but we don't want the calcium to be deposited in the blood vessels where it can cause plaque. The K2 helps, like I call it the traffic controller. It redirects the calcium into where it needs to go, bones and teeth. And so we want D3, K2 to be in the right ratios.
Yep.
Really, really important. And again, this is just another review of this giveaway that we're doing. We're doing free calls. Anybody who wants us to go through their supplement regime.
Blood work.
And anyways, we are offering a gift basket to the first 3 that book the call. And you know, this is at least, the gift basket's worth at least $100. At least, it's probably $300.
Yeah.
So when it comes to pillar number 2, what we're going to do is we're just going to say, hey, get the resistance training going, get the strength training going. What is that going to do? Well, it's going to build muscle. Why is that important?
Lean muscle. It's a metabolic engine for your body, right? It's burning calories while you sleep.
Yeah, it's also a glucose sponge. So what that means is it is the biggest hog of glucose. So the more muscle you have on the body, the more carbohydrates you can enjoy without gaining weight. Why? Because it's fueling the muscle to do its work. And the more muscle tissue you have, the more carbs it needs. Okay. And so that's the other piece. It also looks good, you know, having like, hey, gone are the days of like the skinny models, which, oh my gosh, I fell into that. Actually, that's probably why I had an eating disorder, is because what was considered beautiful was like thin. And I'm like, I just want to be liked. I guess to be liked, I need to, you know, look that certain way. Well, it cost me my bones and my health. So we know better now. And so strong is the new sexy, I have to say. And gone is the skinny. So we want to jump on this bandwagon. And what I love about this is we're seeing so many women in the gym.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so whereas before they were on the treadmill, or they're on the bike, or they're like trying to run their weight to burn the belly fat.
Just doing cardio.
And they didn't want to build muscle because they thought they'd get to like Arnold Schwarzenegger like. Well, actually, that's turned around. There's a lot more education around it. And the education is we need to get into the gym and do resistance training. And so, hey, if you need help with that, obviously we can do all that for you, but really there's a lot of apps out there that can show you how to do proper resistance training that we highly recommend you do. So out of like minute by minute, if I'm going to recommend any kind of exercise, any kind, and you're able to, okay, and you're able to, then I would start resistance training like today. Okay, even if you haven't before, today, or if you have, get into the routine of doing it consistently. In addition to that, or if you can't do resistance training because you're not able right now, then walking. That's what Karen did. Karen just walked.
Yep.
She never did anything else but walked, and she tracked her steps because it was like a game. It gamified it all. And so she walked outside, and so she got her vitamin D. She managed her stress. She was able to burn calories just by walking. Yeah, and so if we can put that on your mute button on. Boop. Okay. Awesome. So, and so we have resistance training, we have walking outside, and then we have, as you age, hey, listen, joints become a little more compromised. Okay. We have stuff for that, but at the same time, that's going to happen. And so just think of how you want to be when you're 80. That I want you to start planning for that now. I know that's how I think. I'm like, when I'm 80, I want to be able to be very active. I want to be able to take care of my grandkids because I know our boys are going to have them. They talk about that.
Yeah.
At least 4 each. That'll be great. I'll be a grandma 4 times. You'll be a grandpa 4 times.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to take care of them. Well, I better start training now and stay this way. And so we need the flexibility and balance. That means when you're on the floor, be able to get yourself up without a chair. Like that is so, so important. And when you're in a chair, just get yourself up without grabbing anything, just get up. So these are really, really important things to think about. Lifestyle, listen, as you get older, we have a harder time with stress. And it has to do with estrogen. It does. Your hormones do shift. Cortisol tends to go up. We're inflaming all the blood sugar. So we have to know, listen, we need to give ourselves a break. We can't keep like being this like rushing woman syndrome. We can't keep doing that. We're used to doing that because that's how we were able to take care of our kids. We had to get up on a dime and go take them here and there, make them food and all these things, like juggle our career and the whole thing. That's how we're wired because of all those years of doing that. We don't have to do that anymore. Like this is our life. So we have to go, wait a minute. Oh my gosh, you're right, Michelle.
It's time for me.
What the hell? What am I doing? Yeah. So we have to like, just first of all, see how it would look differently. That is less stress. And you know what? It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel weird doing that because you're not used to doing that. But if you keep running yourself to the ground, you're going to look like an old hag and you'll have a lot of belly fat. That wouldn't be very good. So we want to make sure we go, wait a minute. Okay. Where do I start, Michelle? Because like, I'm so used to like being this A-type doing it all. I get it. Here's where I would start was, first of all, decide. Decide that's who you want to be now, because you can't keep being that same person. If you keep being that same person, nothing's going to change. So the first thing is decide and go, what does that person look like? Oh, okay. How does that person show up in my day-to-day life? How does that person show up with my sweetie, with your kids, with your career, with your coworkers, with, just neighbors? How does that person show up? And literally you are a different person. You cannot be that same person. I know it sounds weird, but it's not, because you're like yourself, but a 10.0 version of yourself. Okay. So I have to say, this is a big thing. Reese and I are going to go see Dr. Joe Dispenza. We're going to be diving a lot more into this. Thank you very much. And do you want to keep that? I'm happy to keep
Let's
going.
go on to the stress.
I'm on the stress thing.
Yeah.
So are you getting stressed?
Yeah.
Oh, how come?
Yeah. Just
Okay. So basically that's that piece. Okay. And sleep hygiene. This is the other piece. When you get a good sleep, it's called beauty sleep for a reason. All right. And again, we're not used to this. We don't prioritize sleep. No, because we want to go. We want to stay up late. We want to get all this. We have a few to-do lists. Hey, Karen was struggling with that. I have to let you know. And she would say to me, but in time, we started to coach her into, wait a minute, like, what about Karen time? What about Karen time? And so then slowly she started to change that habit into, wait a minute, no, I'm actually going to replace that to-do list, like the getting back to everybody just before bed, to, you know what, 30 minutes of reading. Yeah. And
she took time for herself.
She took time to herself. Yeah. So that's also really important. And then when you do, you're going to feel like really, really good. And then hydration, and we talked about supplements. So basically, this is our 9-step blueprint. If you guys are still here, obviously this is interesting for you, and I'm very grateful. And again, you're rewarded a free gift if you just want to reach out to us and say, hey, I watched your training and I'd like to book a call. I want to review my supplements. And maybe we want to look at your blood work, whatever time you need with us, you'll have our time, an appointment, and also you get the free gift. And there's first three able to get that, and that'll be really good. Here's the blueprint here. And it's just 9 steps. The first step is, first of all, customization. Second of all, be the person you want to be. Okay. The third thing is nutrition, customize that. The fourth thing is, yes, you do need to calorie count at the very start to even know what you're doing and track it. It's only for a short time, because then you actually know what you're doing. Because if you're not measuring, you're not managing it. We have to measure it first, just in the beginning, and then you know what you're doing. We talked about the exercise. We talked about the stress mastery. We talked about sleep, detoxification, and supplements. And then again, at the end of that, we want to reevaluate, because you're not that same person.
No.
You are a new person. Like Karen's 22 pounds smaller than she was. That's not the same person. So now we go, oh, okay, well, let's do the next blueprint for you because you're not that same person. And so we need to adjust. So now we're at the end of this and you're still here. They obviously find it very interesting. And then those on the replay, I'm very excited that you're here. And if you are watching the replay, again, we're happy to set up a call with you. You may be thinking, yeah, Michelle and Reese, I don't know. Yeah.
It's too late for me to lose weight.
Yeah, it's too late. Like I'm 60 and I don't know. Everything I've done hasn't worked. And how do I know this is going to work? Well, if you keep doing what you're doing, it's not going to work. But if you try something new, you'd be surprised, just like Karen and everyone else. So of course you can. And I don't have time for all these changes. Well, when are you going to make time for yourself? Just think of when you're 80 and you didn't make time for yourself. How is that going to look? Here you are, you've got grandkids, you can't take care of them. Another grandma's going to. That's probably not so good, right? And then your husband, hey, wifey, I want to go to like Spain and go for an adventure or that. Oh, sorry, dear. I can't because of blah, 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 all these excuses. Do you really want to have those excuses? And no, like, come on, let's go. And you may think, yeah, I try these things, I fall off. I go on them, I fall off. What are we going to do? Well, it's not willpower that's going to keep you on. I have to let you know. And it's certainly not motivation. That is fleeting. You know what it is? Discipline.
And finding the right combination, right? Of right levers to pull.
Yeah. And so actually that's where
our whole program comes in.
Coaching comes in.
Yeah.
So the accountability of the coaching. And so maybe you have a partner that you want to work with. That's fine. As long as you have an accountability partner, then you're more apt to get results. You know that to be true. And if you can both do it together, it's so much easier. Yeah.
And a lot of people just think, well, it's inevitable with age. You know, I'm getting to that age and that's just what happens. And it's just not true. That's just another marketing hype. It's part of the medical system. So don't believe you can be healthy at any age.
Exactly.
And you should be.
And just find ones that are healthy at that age and do what they're doing and learn from them. That would be a good idea. Because we know of those that go to doctors and they're quite overweight and the doctor's telling them what to do to be healthy.
Take a pill.
Something wrong with that. Okay. So in conclusion, you've been with us for an hour and 15 minutes.
Thank you.
And we're very grateful to have you here. And so basically we talked about the challenges. We talked about the frustrations. We talked about it's not your fault. You've been marketed to all these things. We talked about why this is happening. And then we went into like, do we want to keep doing that? No, we can turn this around because this is your second spring. This is your time. Just think about all the years you could live even healthier than you've ever been. I would make that a challenge. In fact, I made that for my challenge today. I'm like, I'm at the gym. I'm like, I want to ramp up my health and my fitness.
Yeah.
I don't even know where I'd go with that, but who knows?
Next level.
Yeah. And so what a fun project to do. Like, wouldn't that be amazing? Just to start to focus on that. And so this is where I want to like flip the switch. We talked about the strategies for that. The number one strategy is get your nutrition right, get your customized nutrition right, and then go from there. We have this fit and healthy balanced model. It's the 9 steps with the 3 pillars. Hopefully we've laid a lot of value for you and you are going to take action today. And if you know of anyone, please share this information with them, family, friends, all those people, like share it to the world because women need to know this stuff. Okay. We need to know this stuff and we need to get our health back. So, contact us if you want.
Metabolic self-test.
Well, that's going to be on the call. So our last kind of like piece of value that we would offer you is our time, our one-on-one time, private time. That means you and me. That means booking a call. We're going to find out what you're doing, where you want to be. We'll create a game plan for you and even look at your supplements, whatever you want, but we're offering that for free. And the first 3 people that book the call get this amazing gift basket, which we're happy to send to you. And so that's
it.
Yeah. So let's make this our second spring.
So thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah. And we'll see you in the next episode. We're actually looking at doing these deep dives once a month, these lives, but still stay active in the fit and healthy community because in there, you're going to see a lot of good value just sprinkling in. give your comments, ask the questions, and we're all gonna get fit and healthy together. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay, thanks for chiming in.